in North Las Vegas. The Negro. I want to tell you one more thing I know about the Negro. When I go through Las Vegas, in North Las Vegas, and I would see these little government houses, and in front of that government house, the door was usually open, and the older people and the kids, and there's always at least a half a dozen people sitting on the porch. They didn't have nothing to do. They didn't have nothing for their kids to do. They didn't have nothing for their young girls to do. And because they were basically on government subsidy, and so now what do? They abort their young children. They put their young men in jail because they never learned how to pick cotton. And I've often wondered, are they better off as slaves picking cotton, having family life and doing things, or are they better off under government subsidy? They just transferred it. Yeah, they didn't get no more freedom. They got less freedom. They had less family alive, and their happiness, you can see in their faces, they weren't happy sitting on that concrete sidewalk. Down there, they were probably growing their turnips. So that's all government. That's not freedom.
Well, I guess I'll go into
Hi.
19s tonight.
See, now look at that. Listen to what she just did right there. After, she has a problem with you now, Erica. So she's going to go ahead and go into 19s, chat. Dude, fuck 19. 19's a little punk bitch. When you go into his chat, make sure you let him know that Spitfire said you're a little punk bitch.
And ask him how it is somebody just
You're a little punk bitch.
and ask him how it is somebody just takes over somebody's channel, starts it up.
See, the thing is, what Kim fails to say here in her coded words, I'm going to go into 19's chat and tell them what these people are doing to me, and hopefully they'll go attack them for me. Unfortunately for Kim, Agent 19 won't attack anybody for you because you are a nutbag.
There's my Joey Gibson. Yep, he is out there speaking freedom. Freedom. You know what we're getting ready to lose more of? Freedom. You wouldn't know anything about that because you know what? You take everything that Joey Gibson says and you twist that shit too. You twist it into the Proud Boys. Yep, that's what you do. I've seen two people do that. You take Joey Gibson and you twist it into the Proud Boys. Losers. You just don't like it that he was a one-man show.
But again, Enrique and I appreciate you putting us in the lights. We sure do.
So now she's a spokesman for Enrique. Enrique, knock knock. Is this a message that's from you, Enrique, to me? Just curious.
Yeah. You better hope that an American stands for you when the time comes.
You better know that I am an American. And those Americans that stand for me and you and other people out there, other countries, are my flesh and blood. So you can fuck right off. Because any of them that are supporting Enrique, they're done, And that brought me to another thought is if we're going down to local, like a militia itself, why would somebody in one state belong to a militia or be supporting a militia in another state, like way far away? Isn't some people are out of work or whatever, so they can have some boxed meals? Isn't there anything? That's one thing that I've always thought fondly of the Dark One, Mike, because the things that he's been involved with in his community, I've actually needed help from before, in times of need. So why are these people promoting and actually speaking, as you heard earlier, she is speaking to me on behalf of Enrique. And Enrique was part of the Miami, was he not? Area Proud Boys. So that's something that I'm just touching on today. I'm like, this is just kind of weird. Because how are they picking and choosing what Proud Boy group they want to promote and whatnot? Why is it not their local chapter? Something to think about. And this is going to come into play here in just a minute. And what this gentleman has to say about Enrique.
Okay, so in August, he did another undercover operation with a second set of diabetic test strips. So he went back to other people who were doing the same exact thing that he thought was okay to do and make a bunch of money off of, and put these people in jail for no other reason than to save his own ass. Beyond that, in March, Mr. Taro was involved in another undercover operation involving anabolic steroids. So, Enrique is now the head of a club that has one of its tenets as being anti-drug war. Just a few short years ago, this guy...
Anti-drug war. So Enrique, in his local chapter, which he led, I believe, they believe in anti-drug war. Okay? Yet he was involved in this. And then he's going to touch on marijuana, and pay attention to who's in the chat. Who's just there to talk and blah, 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 blah. Hypocrites on parade, folks.
I was going all over the city of Miami, ruining the lives and putting people in jail of people who do, use or sell steroids, and now we'll find out later people who have marijuana grow houses. Further.
Marijuana. Now, another point to bring up is those who use marijuana, whether it's for medicinal purposes or recreational. Now that it's legal and they've come out, we've come out. I can speak for myself, and I'm guessing it would be true for others. My marijuana use didn't just start since it became legal. So, did theirs? I highly doubt it. Probably been using for quite some years, right? When it was illegal. So this could have been them framed or whatnot, or the person that they bought it from or whatever. But here they are. I'm just here for the community. Fuck right off.
Along with the highly police department, Mr. Tario again was involved in undercover operations regarding the wholesale prescription narcotics, resulting in 2 more arrests. In conjunction with the city of Miami in July and working with the agent as a consequence of his information, they successfully raided a grow house and seized 60 pounds of marijuana. So, I'm not a guy who smokes weed. It's not my thing, but, I think we're at a point in society where we realize it's not the worst thing in the world. It's certainly not something that you're going to go and ruin someone else's life over just to get out of the time that you're supposed to do for some crimes that you committed.
And here's the guy that Kim is sending me, the snitch. Kim is sending a message to me from the snitch Enrique. Okay. And here we have a pot advocate, a cannabis advocate, all up in the chat. Hypocrites on parade, folks.
Another grow house resulting in the seizure of another 40 pounds of marijuana, and also again in July of another grow house in the city of Miami, which at that point was essentially in between cycles and was an inactive hydroponics lab. In addition to all of these productive cooperations, he assisted in approximately 10 other attempts at being productive. So these were times that he went out undercover and tried to snitch on more people that didn't work out. Says oftentimes they may have failed because the local police department just didn't have the manpower. So the local police department in Miami didn't have the manpower to keep up with Enrique's attempted snitching. It's pretty fucking crazy. Your Honor, frankly, in all the years, which is now more than 30, that I have been doing this, I've never had a client as prolific in terms of cooperating in any respect. I believe that was a statement from his lawyer. I think we got through most of it. There was a part in here where they gave the raw numbers of the amount of people that he put in jail. I think that was back towards the beginning, but it was between a dozen and 2 dozen people that this guy...
This is their hero. This is their hero. But oh no, a Muslim woman is talking on the internet, and her political preference leans to the left. After what we've seen in Washington, and again, y'all make sure and catch that funeral this morning. Okay? This is what got us here. Okay? The filth. The bad eggs. The ones that aren't watched, okay? The ones that they don't pay attention to. The ones that they don't look into. Running their mouths and attacking other Americans for no good fucking reason. Other than my constitutional rights, my religion, my freedom of speech, my freedom of religion. Okay? Hypocrites on parade.
I sent to jail. To get an amount to a 45% reduction in his time. That's what they gave him at this hearing. So I talked earlier about when Enrique was when this story first came out, he denied it. He said he had no idea what these people were talking about. And he told us the same thing as Proud Boys. He denied it to his brothers. He lied to us. Then he tried to get in front of it, went to the Gateway Pundit, and they do this big story about how he was preventing human trafficking. So in these documents, what he did was he took $11,000, and because he's Cuban, he tried to pay a guy to get some of his fictitious family members in the country. So he entrapped a guy. He's not out there being a fucking hero against human trafficking. He's going around. So he went back to other people who were doing the same exact thing that he thought was okay to do and make a bunch of money off of, and put these people in jail for no other reason than to save his own ass. Beyond that, in March, Mr. Tario was involved in another undercover operation involving anabolic steroids. So, you know, Enrique is now the head of a club that has one of its tenets as being anti-drug war. Just a few short years ago, this guy...
Anti-drug war. So Enrique, in his local chapter, which he led, I believe, they believe in anti-drug war. They want to promote and whatnot. Why is it not their local chapter? Something to think about. And this is going to come into play here in just a minute. Again, with what this gentleman has to say, we're going to see more of the hypocrisy with who's in the chat. And what this gentleman has to say about Enrique.
Okay, so in August, he did another undercover operation with a second set of diabetic test strips. So he went back to other people who were doing the same exact thing that he thought was okay to do and make a bunch of money off of, and put these people in jail for no other reason than to save his own ass. Beyond that, in March, Mr. Taro was involved in another undercover operation involving anabolic steroids. So okay, so in August, he did another undercover operation with a second set of diabetic test strips. So he went back to other people who were doing the same exact thing that he thought was okay to do and make a bunch of money off of, and put these people in jail for no other reason.
Showing this gentleman calling this out. So now they're the villain again.
More, a little more. This guy is the lowest fucking form of piece of shit that there is, okay? This guy's not a hero. He's not working with law enforcement. He's a guy who lived as a fucking piece of shit, you know, fraudulent criminal, selling stolen medical supplies that God knows who needed them and had to go without him. And then when he got caught...
Again, hypocrites on parade. I think I heard Angela say something about they don't have medical care or whatever. God forbid you're diabetic or your husband or your kids or grandkids. Just wow. I mean, the level of ignorance is staggering.
He did whatever he had to do to get a sentence reduction. This is a person your fucking grandma would be smart enough not to associate with. I don't want to get too far.
You're
Caught.
Again, hypocrites on parade. I think I heard Angela say something about they don't have medical care or whatever. God forbid you're diabetic or your husband or your kids or grandkids. Just wow. I mean, the level of ignorance is staggering.